All right, guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of the CX Chronicles podcast. Super excited today, guys. We have an awesome guest on the show, Valentin Radu, who is the founder of Omniconvert. He's gonna share his story with us, and he's got a super cool path, guys. Valentin, why don't you say hello to the CX Nation, my friend?
Hello, everyone, and I'm really excited to make this happen together with you.
So we're excited too, and I'm going to put all of the pressure directly back on you, Valentin. Why don't you set the stage, man? Let's take a couple minutes to kind of give us a sense for sort of, number one, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Omniconvert, but even before Omniconvert, how did you get into this space? How did you find the world of CX and customer success and working with customers and building loyalty and retention? What was the draw? What was the magnet for you? What pulled you towards this whole world and building Omniconvert?
Yeah, so it's if I go back with the time machine, I was one of my first jobs was to do interviews, like in-person interviews. I was making something like, I don't know, $1 per person that completed the interview on the street. And I've adapted my methodology because I wanted to go to the seaside with my girlfriend. I was 17 years old, and that was the first job. I was working.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Yeah. So basically, I've adapted my method, and I've realized how important it is. How am I opening up the conversation and how am I behaving? So it was like a dance, because I was doing something like, I was asking something like 600 people a day, and I was completing 200 to 220 interviews a day. So in 2 weeks, I made the money to go to the seaside, and I was like a king, even though I'm coming from a very poor family. And that was, again, an important thing, because you can't misbehave if you wanna get value back, right? So you need to be the first to give that value. And in order to give that value, you need to listen first and then talk. So this type of, let's say, principles I've got from those days when I was doing this type of customer interviews on the street. And then I've built 4 companies, man. So the first company, internet service provider, we were playing StarCraft all day long, and my neighbors started to ask because they wanted broadband connection as well. And we've opened up the company, and basically it was all about how we were treating our customers, because we wanted to steal them from competitors. Those companies, building those companies, allowed me to understand that even though you have the same product, even though you have the same price, the arena where you are competing is the customer experience. So basically, I've built my third company, which turned out to become the largest online car insurance provider here in Romania, and it was all about how we were perceived and what kind of services we had, because at the end of the day, they could have bought from any other insurance company. And at some point, we've shipped 3,000 anniversary cakes to our customers, and that was a huge network effect due to that single thing. And because at the end of the day, what's the growth flywheel? You invest money to acquire customers, they are happy, and if they are over the moon about what you're doing, they bring you more customers without paying.
Built-in marketing, Valentin. Yep.
At the end of the day, it's word of mouth, right? And if you're not focusing on the long game, to have customers 6 months from now, when you have this customer because you've over delivered to him or her, then you will not be in a position to have a sustainable business. So those kind of principles I've got. And at some point in my life, after the car insurance company, I realized, you know what, this arena is untapped yet. It was back in 2013, 10 years ago. And we've first developed a company which was focusing a product which was focusing on changing the user experience, and now we are focusing on changing the customer experience, because it's a huge market, man. I mean, we are seeing so many companies struggling right now because they don't know how to cherish their own customers. It's
100%.
That's their gold mine, and they are simply ignoring how they feel after they ship the product. And they chase after other companies, other customers, by bribing them with ads or discounts and
Totally.
testing in Facebook ads and other TikTok or whatever.
And it's funny, man. It's all fantastic points, and it's almost like the old school thought was we constantly double down on sales and revenue and marketing and growth, and look, for a lot of companies, most companies, that worked extremely well. But it's 2023 now, and things are a little bit different. We went through a lot. This world has gone through a lot in just the last 3-4 years alone, let alone the last 10 years. And I think now more than ever, there's almost been a bit of a flip, right? So CX and CSers already know this because we work in this field, in this space every day. We see the investments that our businesses are and are not making. But most importantly, we talk to customers every single solitary day. We look at what users are doing every single solitary day. We have a different sense and a different appreciation for really what keeps people around. And so what I'm getting at though is you're going to see a swing, Valentin. There's going to be a swing within. It's already started, but this thought around constantly doubling down on sales and marketing, I would not be surprised if you see the bottom half of some of the smartest companies in the world, bottom half of sales and revenue, people that aren't even hitting goal, people that aren't even carrying their weight, for lack of a better term, people that aren't able to ramp to a certain level of yield on a month-over-month basis. You're better off taking that money, taking that time, taking that investment, putting it into retention, putting it into your upsell, cross-sell, putting it into, I love that you started the show right off with this idea of like, build an army of promoters, and then more importantly, you're in a position where it's cheap. Not only is it cheaper and more economically sound to try to find more business with your existing customers, it's more fun. It just is. I say it all the time in the show, man. But like when you could take a customer that you've already been working with, who already kind of liked your product and really was already happy, and then you can somehow find 2 or 3 new areas where you can like maybe double the amount of money that they're spending with you, and then they're even more thrilled because they didn't even realize that you were not just a product or service, but you were like a partner that was going to find ways of helping to improve their company. That's going to be the stuff that rocket ship companies, man, moving forward, they're going to figure this stuff out, and they're going to build and scale on that type of ethos, and they're going to be unstoppable.
For sure. It's just that I'm not getting why so few people are getting it. And it's so simple. I mean, the mechanics of it are so simple, but it's like we are all being hypnotized about acquisition marketing.
Yeah.
We are neglecting what's after that. It's like we want just one night stand relationships.
Yeah, right. Well, and then your comment about the marketing, though, it's almost like the Don Draper effect, right? Like still some of the best marketers in the world, they have that Don Draper type of mentality, the Mad Men style of just being able to, like, they paint a picture, they tell a story, you buy it. And then after you buy it, do you buy it again or do you never buy it again? That's not their problem. Their problem is just to get that first buy, right? But Valentin, I love some of these ideas, man. You mentioned Romania. I'd love for you to kind of start to swing the camera in a different direction, man. Let's talk about how you started building Omniconvert. So number one, where are you guys all stationed out of? And I'd love to dive into the first CX pillar of team. Start talking about some of the different teams and departments and some of the ways that you started to build out the Omniconvert team once you saw this huge opportunity in front of you.
Yeah, so initially I've started the company because we've seen this working. So initially we were focusing on other online players like we were. I've redesigned my image, my story about who am I, and I've decided, you know what, let's build an entrepreneur which is going global with a software as a service. Because to be honest, I was bored about selling e-commerce, insurance in Romania, whatever. And I've improved our business by focusing on the right customer. So for instance, in our case, I've dived into the data and I've looked at which are our best customers. And I've realized that it was this Pareto principle out there. So the truck drivers and the luxury car owners, they were something like 16% of our customers, but they generated 60% of our margin. And
nice.
we
basically
started to change, to personalize the website, and that's how I've started Omniconvert. Initially, we were focusing again only on A/B testing and changing the website, changing the messaging. After that, we've activated the surveys, and we've started to see the power of getting feedback from the users, from the customers.
Definitely.
Yeah, so mainly initially I was just me and my technical co-founder, and then we've started to add more people. So we've got into a quite a good run. So at some point we had something like 12,000 websites starting to use our tool back in 2016. We raised money, and then Google Optimize showed up in the picture. So that was the inflection point when I've said, you know what, I need to change what am I selling, because if Google Optimize is selling the same freaking product, which is being for free, and they are using Google Optimize, the whole world is using Google Optimize, then what's the value? Because I'm being guided by this principle. Unless you provide undeniable value to your customers, then you'll be out of business one day or another. So I've started to interview our own customers, and I've realized that they are facing a huge problem, which was customer lifetime value. So they were acquiring customers that never come back. So I've made this type of in-depth interviews, and at that moment, I've realized that I need to add more people in my team, which are, let's say, providing the services, not only the technology, but also the services on top of what we were doing. So I've started to work with larger companies, and we've activated this managed services arm. It's like a consulting arm, which is helping large companies to improve their customer lifetime value. Then we've built this new product, Omniconvert Reveal, which is now helping them to do customer segmentation, to do NPS, to look at all sorts of anomalies, like what is the NPS by employee or by department or by the part within the customer journey. So with this type of insights, we've made some good success stories, and that was the moment when we've realized that we can't scale the company only through services. So we wanted to clone this type of knowledge, and that was the moment when I've teamed up with other thought leaders in the space, and we've built the CVO Academy. So we've decided, you know what, this methodology to improve customer lifetime value needs to be documented and spread. Because unless we train customers how to do it, our tool is just a tool. It's not going to be as impactful as knowing how to use the tool. So that was the moment when we've activated a new component within the company, which was the education. So now we have the academy, which is teaching other consultants, other agencies, other service providers on the CVO methodology. We do have our own managed services arm, which is helping agencies to provide these kind of services. And we also have the technology itself, which is the backbone of the company. In terms of the teams, we have this customer success team, which is either providing services to the customers, either to the agencies which are providing these services further to their own customers. And then we have the technology team, which is building the tools that we are selling. Then we do have the marketing, the sales, the operations, the normal, let's say, department that any company is having.
That's awesome. So first of all, I've got so much to unpack there, because number one, it's just such an incredible space. You said it at the beginning of the show, but for non-CX and CS focused leaders, they have no idea how big this space is about to get. They have no idea how much money the biggest companies on planet Earth are already starting to dump into this. And then they have no idea how much money the emerging companies, tomorrow's leading companies, are investing in how they're going to build this incredible type of almost like a journey management type of process that you just walked us through. And then number two, it sounds like you folks built it, right? You started to build this. So the Omniconvert team went after it and just dug in and figured out. There's a couple follow-up questions I have for you. I think one piece is, we talk about this all the time in the show, but like global software spend is at an alarming clip. What's kind of almost comical, though, is the part that you kind of called out that you guys saw early, which is like software companies all across the world, they go and they sell and they sell and they sell and they sell. And then when you go back and you look at utilization 12 months later, 18 months later, 24 months later, 36 months later, the hell with ROI, just look at utilization alone. It's super duper low. And it's super duper low because even when you have an incredibly intelligent, smart, focused, dedicated team of employees, if they don't have somebody to hold the hand, act as a guide, poke holes, show different possible ways, build off of what other organizations or other industries have already proven, utilization is really hard. It's almost like any tool, whether it's a CRM, an issue resolution management system, a communication optimization system, any of your telephonics. Like, unless you're using it all the damn time, and you've got somebody who's some guy or gal that's working with you regularly to optimize, iterate, normalize too. There's a lot of changes and regular just maintenance based stuff that has to happen. My point here is it's incredible that you guys sort of knew right away by having a managed services arm. You will lead to like a technology based set of products or solutions. And then when you get to that third part of like, okay, now we have not only managed services, knowledge, expertise, experience, right? And then you've got essentially the ability to orchestrate plus technology, where then you can start to bind all those ideas together and you can actually make them actionable and you can sort of have a way of tracking it. Man, that's cooking with gas right there. I think the last piece that I just want to kind of unpack is when you kind of were jumping through all the different ways that you guys are working with your clients and some of the different major highlights that you're really kind of drawing from some of the data that they do have or some of the customer signals that they do have, customer lifetime value, retention, top customers. You mentioned like different cohorts of NPS. So like maybe your high value NPS or by employee. This is stuff that certainly most venture capital backed companies, they're not there yet. They're not scratching the surface of that. Maybe there's a handful of portfolios that are, fund managers that are starting to embed this type of knowledge inside of their portfolios. So they get a little bit of a competitive advantage because again, the top knows how important this stuff is, right? The top of the world, the guys and the gals running the biggest companies in the world, they already get this stuff. But it's such a cool space, man. And I guess my follow-up question is just like, you mentioned lots of customer interviews early. You mentioned lots of customer engagement early. How did you jump from like the services side to the tech side? And you know what? This leads us perfectly into our second CX pillar of tools. But like, I have to imagine early on, you guys were seeing a ton of different tools being used by your early customers. So how did you sort of make that jump? And what were some of the things that you were seeing with the tools that your customers were using that led to how you were even going to think about building out the Omniconvert solutions that you guys offer to your customers today?
Yeah, that's pretty simple, Adrian. Because what happened back when we started back in 2017 to put the foundation of this new tool was like this. So we had retailers which were struggling and they don't know why. So they didn't know why their competition were stealing customers. They didn't know why those kind of things happen because these silos, right? They have their customers success teams which were always barking at the other departments. Hey, you are doing this shit. And it's forever.
Hey, CX and CSers bark, Valentin. That's what we do. That's how it goes, man.
Exactly. And then we have the data teams, which were just producing freaking reports that nobody read. And then we had the marketing teams, which were just bribing customers with discounts. And those separated silos, we've identified that the technology can be the unifying agent between those silos. And working with the leaders of a few retailers, they've said, aha, then that's how it should be made and how we do it. And then they've got back to their big queries, to their data guys, and they couldn't help them with a unified vision towards what's going on. And moreover, the CDP vendors, because of course we are now competing with CDPs and we always competed with CDPs. The CDPs, what they are doing, they are making this type of promises about the moon and the earth and how it's going to look the future thanks to their CRM and the segmentation capabilities. And then nobody can use this machine because it's way too complicated. And they don't start with the end in mind. They start with, hey, this is going to give you a ton of use cases. Yes, and who's going to do this? Because if you don't start with the fact, hey, in order to grow your company, you A, acquire new customers, and B, make those customers buy again more and more often, right? That's how you grow a company. So at some point in our past, we've realized that this is the gap, and that's why we need to team up with agencies, like with smart people, which can come up with an out-of-the-box perspective, and that could leverage our own technology. Because the companies are so, I mean, there are many open-minded companies, of course, but there are people within those companies and managers which are having even conflicting KPIs. So if they are doing their target, another department, they are not doing their target, because there is not like an overview of the KPIs that must be addressed. They are not customer centric, even though they claim they are. But if they don't start with the what's the most important thing, to have high customer lifetime value, to see the CLV going up. If the CLV is going up, then we can pour more gasoline in acquiring more customers. If it's going down, something is wrong. And the CLV is the KPI of the CEO. So when we are starting with the CLV and then come up with what should be made, what kind of data we should be pulling out, what kind of actions are aligned with this type of objectives, that's when the company is starting to see progress. Otherwise, there are all these departments which are siloed and they can't move the needle due to this type of chaotic reporting that I was telling you about. So the tools themselves, you have the data guys with their tools, you have then all sorts of departments, but unless you have this integrated reporting, which is coming every freaking week and telling them, we are doing like this, we're down 4% with the CLV, because that's the measure of success. That's the scorecard of the entire company, right? And because it's showing how the marketing went, how the product was doing, how the fulfillment, everything is connected to seeing an upward trend on the CLV.
100%, man. I absolutely love everything that you're laying down for us. And there's the last comment that you made. It's like every marketing leader, he or she gets their tool. Every sales or every RevOps leader, they get their tool, their CRM or whatever they're projecting with, or whatever they're forecasting with, or whatever they're even just tracking their generalized sales activities on. Ops is different because typically they're either building their own or they got their own project management system, issue resolution management system. CX and CS is interesting because CX and CS, I think we're finally just now starting to get to the point where if you're a company that's even lucky enough to have a senior CX and CS leader, a guy or gal that's been doing this stuff for over 15 or 20 years, they're going to be loud and they're going to be squeaking. They're going to say, hey, wait a minute, everyone, finance has their ERP, sales has got their CRM, marketing's got their marketing ops tool. We need something to be able to see our portfolio, and we need something to be able to see all the stuff that you're laying down, Valentin, which is top movers and shakers. Almost the same way you look at a financial portfolio, right? People, top customers that are going up, top customers that are descending, going down. Churn's crazy, man. It's amazing to me how many companies do over $10 million a year of sales and don't have a clue about like what their historic churn looks like. And then it's even crazier to me that although they were able to get their company to $10+ million, there's no segmentation done to understand the movers and the shakers, right? Meaning like understanding, starting to unpack the why around some of the movers or shakers, right? So if you segment, you can start to see trends and themes and similarities across of the different types of segments of customers that you brought in. So it's just super, super interesting, man. But here's the last part I'll say. On the tool side, I know with a lot of growth companies, a lot of the venture cap companies that we're working with at CXC, Valentin, they part of the biggest challenge is that early on in the business, right? Somebody wasn't thinking about how the data governance or the data connectivity or the data aggregation was going to work so that you could actually build an aggregated, holistic, high-level view of what's happening, not just across the customer journey, but to help you with actual customer success management, right? And this is the thing where, like, I know you have this conversation all the time with your team and with your customers. I know every single day with our prospects and our customers, it's like, you want to get better at customer experience, you want to get better at customer success. Let's start with what you're measuring and managing today. Well, we don't have anything. Okay, well, let's start there, because I don't know what, it's if you want to lose weight, do you or do you not need the scale to be able to understand what you're doing, or if the decisions, the activities and the behaviors and the performance that you're doing, whether it's working out or cutting your calories or whatever it is, you still need to be able to measure and manage to know directionally you're either going to the right direction or the wrong direction. So I love some of these ideas. Valentin, I want to dive into the third CX pillar of process. A couple questions for you here. And I'm going to piggyback right off of kind of what you just laid out here, but I'd love for you to spend a minute kind of talking about how you and the Omniconvert team, how do you dig into your clients' customer journeys? How do you help them thinking about journey mapping or at least understanding what some of those variables look like? I'd love to just kind of understand how you even start to do the initial assessment to be able to almost, for lack of a better term, dump all the puzzle pieces out on the table and then start to be able to sort your colors, sort your shapes, and start figuring out how you're going to kind of put things back together.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I love to share this with you, Adrian. So it's all starting with the unit economics. There are a few companies that have nailed their dominant numbers. So how growth can happen, right? Maybe they are struggling, maybe everything goes great for them, even though I'm doubting this. But we are doing a snapshot first. We are looking at things like which are the dominant numbers, which are the numbers which will produce growth. So most of the companies are looking are having a shallow approach of this. So they are looking at the revenue, which is a lag indicator, is not a lead indicator, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
we look at the dominant numbers, which are, let's say, traffic. We look at if it's an online player, there, for instance, we look at traffic, average order value, conversion rate. We look at the gross margin. We look at the customer acquisition cost. We look at the customer lifetime value, and we look at the purchase frequency. So looking at these numbers, we do a snapshot and we look at how they are against their peers, because we have the luxury of having data from 3,200 other companies in various industries. And if they are selling cosmetics or whatever, if they are a grocery retailer, we know where they should be in terms of those type of figures. And by identifying this, we assess the growth potential and the right dominant numbers that they should be focusing on by building models, right? So we are modeling their business with this kind of data, and we show them, you know what, you should be focusing right now on purchase frequency, because that's the dominant number which you are lacking right now. And if we tweak this by this amount in order to get into the top companies that we're having in our benchmark, then you should be getting, I don't know, 12 million in 2 years from now, because the purchase frequency is what you're lacking. And we are starting this because the leaders which are making this type of investment, which are it's a mid to long-term investment. It's not like you're activating TikTok ads and you're seeing tomorrow the return. You are doing this type of investment, which is mid to long-term, and they need to do this type of ROI assessment. And by throwing this type of data at them, they will be in a position to have a lot of aha moments about what they've lacked so far, because their business model might not work anymore with the same traffic conversion rate and whatever, and they should be focusing on lifetime value, for instance. After that, we do the assessment in terms of their customer segment. So we apply the RFM methodology, recency, frequency, and monetary value. We identify their best customers, and we do like a snapshot. So we do like the second step in the methodology after nailing the growth formula is the customer research. And within the customer research, we look at the NPS by the RFM group. We look at the NPS by the part of the customer journey. So where are the frustrated customers when they are placing order, when they are using the product, or when they are getting the product, so that we know where it's the bug within the customer journey. So we don't do the journey mapping until we know from a significant sample size of customers where is the bug, because we might be let's say misguided if we look at just a few customers. So we need the data to back this up. We look at their best customers, we call them the soulmates, right? The recency, frequency, and monetary, the ones that the loyal customers, right? Their best customers. We identify if the company is a retailer having a lot of SKUs, we look at the products that they are buying and the propensity to have a high customer lifetime value if they start their journey with a product or another product, right? So there are some products which we call the hidden gems, that if the customer starts with that product, the chances to buy again and the CLV are even 4 times higher than the average lifetime value. So those are some, let's say, things that we are discovering in the customer research. And then we do the ICP, right? Because we double this type of research with the customer surveys. And if it's not a retailer with a lot of SKUs, we do jobs to be done. So we look at the soulmates which are buying a certain, I don't know, maybe it's a cosmetics brand or whatever. We look at what's causing the soulmates to buy over and over again, despite all the barriers that the brand is putting in front of them, consciously or unconsciously. So once we know the jobs to be done, once we know the ICP, it's time to look at, to come up with the entire management team to do the customer journey mapping. So we do this type of let's say we unveil what's going on in their own business, and then they are onboarded to buy this type of services, to do the customer journey mapping, because until it's some, I mean, that's our experience. Until that moment, until we show them what's going on, until we show their top issues, until we show, I don't know, you have some issues on the picking side of things, or on the fulfillment, or whatever. In North Carolina, your fulfillment, it's a crap. So until we show these type of things, they are not ready to do this customer journey mapping, because it's just an uncertain way of growing for them. And then it's customer journey mapping, and then we do the as-is to the to-be, and then we come up with the initiatives. And our methodology has 3 pillars: what you sell, which is the product; what you do, which is the customer experience; what you say, which is the marketing. So basically, all of those 3 pillars are important. But if the product is not there, it doesn't matter how cool your customer experience is if the product is not doing the job. Right?
Totally agree. Yep. You're spot on. Couple quick thoughts on this. Number one, fantastic explanation of that. And also, just for our listeners, you can literally hear where, man, when you have the opportunity to really dig in, and then I love that you immediately called out, you have to have the right leaders. You said, if you don't have the right management group, forget about it, because the reality is, you want to start investing in customer journey mapping. You want to invest in understanding the intricacies of what your user or your customer goes through with your product or service. Well, get ready to spend a lot of time, and get ready to spend a lot of energy, and get ready to spend some money too, because there's another thought here. I don't think enough people are out there, Valentin, talking about the power of the third-party facilitation, because I can't tell you how many times you come into some of these growth-focused companies that think that they can do some of this stuff themselves, by themselves, without a third-party expert, without a third-party facilitator. Forget about it. It becomes the show of the CEO. It becomes the show of the CMO. Forget about it. CMOs and CROs, they'll take these damn things over all day long. And I'm having fun with you, but like, it's true. And then what ends up happening is an exercise and a set of time, and an incredible deliverable for the entire organization. It gets watered down, and it loses its impact, and it loses its value. And then credibility begins to wane, because any of the guys or the gals that were part of the working exercises and doing the customer journey mapping, or doing the actual work that goes into doing excellent journey mapping, they get let down, right? And so I think that, for our listeners, think about and go back and rewind to the 3 different pillars that Valentin just shared with us, because it's a huge opportunity for your business. It's an immediate CTA, if you haven't already done it, around really kind of understanding what all those puzzle pieces are. Last thing I'm going to say is this. When I was listening to you, Valentin, and you were talking about getting the team around the table and making sure that they're either you do or you don't have the right resources and the right effort and the right time and bandwidth in place, there's one what I immediately was thinking about is, I think one of the biggest, greatest takeaways that any company and any leadership team can get in any business, it's the discussion, the debate, and the banter that comes within them. Because it's really interesting when marketing hears some of the challenges or the opportunities that Sal's talking about that they never heard about. Or it's really interesting when customer success and customer support starts to hear, oh, wait, I didn't realize it was that hard to sell something out of thin air in the world. Because most people that have never sold anything, they do not realize how hard it is to create $1 out of thin air and to find a customer that actually trusts your brand, trusts your service, trusts your product. So that's why sales is such an incredible skill set. And folks that have never done it, they really got to back down in terms of all of the hot opinions that they have about it. And a lot of CX and CS leaders, they got a lot of hot opinions about sales, but they're not always in charge of revenue, and they're not always in charge of how difficult it is to bring a new logo on board, or how difficult it is to take a relationship from a maybe I want to learn about it, all the way to $100,000 deal, right? That is like, guys, that's some really, really incredible stuff. But it's just a great way to, and I'll finish and wrap with this, great way to start really kind of spreading some glue, some collaborative glue throughout your organization, and really, really great way to start to have the right owners across different parts of your business being the authors of that journey. Because if they do know their different areas the best, and if they are listening to customers constantly, and if they are listening to employees on a regular basis, and they're taking the good and the bad and the ugly, and they're prioritizing, they're building their OKRs off of what those customers and what those employees are saying, chances are you're probably going to kill it. You're probably going to do really, really well. And this leads us to our 4th and final pillar of feedback, right? I'd love for you to spend spend as much time as you like, but I'd love to kind of understand. I know a lot of what you guys are doing at Omniconvert. It's feedback management, feedback optimization, creating actions from feedback. Spend a few minutes though talking about sort of, Valentin, how in your career and certainly with the work that you're doing with Omniconvert, how do you kind of think about the customer feedback side of things, and how do you kind of think about the employee feedback side of things?
Yeah, that's a dear subject to me. So Adrian, what we're doing with the, I'm a fan of NPS, even though it's an average metric, and we all know the problem with the averages, right? It was that nice article in New York Times about the fact that if if Warren Buffett and Oprah Winfrey will move to Steubenville, Ohio, suddenly the average income per inhabitant there is going to be 3 times higher, because that's with the average, right? Only 2 people moving there. So you have this type of extremes.
Sure. Yeah.
So NPS is an average as well. But if you slice the NPS and if you look at what is the NPS by location, what is the NPS by customer segment, what is the NPS by employee level. So if you get this type of feedback, and if you always dive into the actual data, what actual customers are telling you. You know, we have a saying here in Romania: if 3 people tell you that you're drunk, you need to go to sleep.
It's time to go home.
Exactly. So if you have this type of feedback, actual words, actual messages, and if you throw them in back to the company, then you can start to move the needle, right? So mainly, one big fan of the customer feedback is not to just collect it, is to look at what are some anomalies. What are some things that we should be doing? For instance, we have this delivery gap, which is the delta NPS between the NPS when people, when customers place the order, and the NPS when customers got their products, and the NPS after they've used the product. So basically, these are showing the delivery gaps, because when you're selling something to a first-time customer, you're selling the promise of that something. You're not actually selling the product, right? So how you delivered on your promise is crucially important, because you are building an MVP, and we have these retailers which are now omni-channel. So they've activated their e-commerce, and they are not aware that that's a startup, guys. That's just a startup. You haven't nailed all the processes, all the journey, and they are putting money on ads. They are throwing their loyalty programs, but they haven't fixed the fulfillment. They haven't fixed those issues that they are coming from their customers. So with this type of ongoing NPS throughout the customer journey, slide by the segment, location, the employee, and whatever, you will be in a position to as a CEO, for instance, as a leader, to have the customer at your board table, right? So you have
totally.
You have all this data. And another thing which is important, and it's a mistake that many companies which are now throwing that, what are the chances to recommend us to a friend, those type of surveys, what they are doing is that they don't take into account the fact that they must act, and very fast, when they get a frustrated customer. So if you have a detractor that it's also a soulmate, do an automation so that you pick up the phone and call that customer, because it's a high value customer which is frustrated out there.
Totally.
So these type of things are not being done. And it's like we have these Frankenstein big corporations, big companies, that on one channel they say buy again, come again, and on the other hand, you are waiting for a ticket to be solved for 3 days, or you are waiting for a package to be delivered, or whatever. If you don't sort out this type of bugs, and if you don't put this type of things on autopilot, you miss out a lot of opportunities. And it's so simple to lose customers. It's just a tab away. You know, 100%. Your competitors are there. So that's how we are suggesting to leverage feedback, and it's a huge opportunity to blend the qualitative data with the quantitative data.
Yes. Yep, I couldn't agree more. And it's Valentin, it's never really, actually, it's not even a surprise anymore to me, but there's so often where We'll be working with different clients, and we'll be doing churn analysis, churn review, churn deep dives, and we're understanding sort of all the ebbs and the flows of the horrible world of churn, right? Because churn is one of the worst things that can happen. It's so freaking hard to get a sale, to get a customer, to sell your thing, to sell your product, your service, whatever it is. And then for that person to go away, man, it's nothing's worse. It's nothing's worse, and there should be more people that make it clear how bad it is, right? And then it puts a little bit more onus on companies and providers, et cetera. And then it shows the customer that they do have some power. But what always blows me away, we'll do these churn reviews, and then we'll start to look at activity counts, or we'll start to look at past surveys, historical survey, whether it's NPS or customer satisfaction or customer effort scoring. And the signals are almost always there. So listeners, the signals are, and I know, and look, maybe like anything else in life, sometimes the when you get your tens of thousands of hours, you become a master at it, or whatever that saying is, right? So maybe it's just as simple as that. But you'll go in and you'll look at some of these churned accounts, and then you'll say, well, let's take a look at, let's see what the last activities were over the last 90 days. Oh, interesting. No phone calls, 2 emails. They're both marketing emails. No text messages, no in-person, whether it's sales or customer success, drop-bys or visits or in-person meetings where you can really, really, really beat your competition there, guys, right? Nothing beats in-person relationships and in-person interactions, right? It makes it real. It makes it real, especially in a world where we build everything online. Everything is digital. Everything's on the website. Everything's on the app. But you'll look at the activities and there won't be anything there. And then you go into, and if you're a software company, if you're a technology company, you go into product or usability, reporting or engagement, and you see a bunch of zeros or a bunch of ones or one view, one click, one login, right? And then you'll have these executives, fast forward 90 days or 180 days down the line when the actual day of the churn happens. How could this happen? What happened here? And then you swarm, right? Then the swarm happens. We need a team of stakeholders around this today, right? And they swarm it. And then everybody finds out what we just talked about. And these are literally all signals. They're just signals. They're signals that technically are happening every single day. So for our listeners and for future kick-ass CXCS leaders that are going to be running some of the biggest customer experience, customer success departments in the world in the next 5 to 10 years, really you're just becoming a master of signal identification, signal management, understanding how to be able to create actions off of signals, because that part's hard, guys, right? It's not always that easy where you think you see smoke and then the fire's right behind it. It's not like that, right? Because every one of these organizations is hard. You still got to get buy-in. You still got to tell your story back with data. You still got to get executive influence and ownership and sponsorship and budget just to be able to do anything. But these are awesome ideas. And Valentin, I'm super pumped with the conversation that we had today. So many incredible insights and CTAs here. Before I let you go, man, where can people find out more about Omniconvert, and where can people get in touch with you if they want to reach out directly to you, sir?
Yes, so they can go to omniconvert.com. If you want a free consumer behavior course, you can go to cvoacademy.com. And if you want to get a hold of me, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm always on LinkedIn, daily on LinkedIn. It's my favorite social media communication medium. And also, if someone thinks that I can be of help, I've got a lot of help by a lot of people, and I think we should talk more. If something is itching us, and if we're struggling too much, I think to guys like you, Adrian, and me, you can get in touch and simply say, you know what, I want to get out of this struggling moment.
Yeah, it's true. And it's like something about that sharing of tribal knowledge and socializing, the things that worked really, really well, and then the things that literally almost took your head off. That's growing, that's learning, that's literally a fantastic way to really kind of, and just also understand there's other people out there that are going through the exact same types of problems that we are. So Valentin, this was an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you so much for joining the CX Chronicles podcast. I'll be super excited for our next chat together, my friend, and best of luck to you and the team at Omniconvert in the future.
Thanks a lot, Adrian, and thanks everyone for listening.